What was supposed to be a routine daytime interview turned into one of the most unforgettable televised clashes in recent memory, when Hollywood icon Sylvester Stallone joined the ladies of The View. The stage was set for a simple promotional chat about his latest film project and appearance meant to celebrate his legacy. Instead, it ignited a firestorm that left audiences reeling. Critics divided, and one of cinema's toughest men walking off set with clenched fists and a burning sense of betrayal. The studio lights flared above like interrogation lamps as Stallone, at May 7, made his way to the table with that unmistakable gait, the quiet swagger of a man who's been both idolized and underestimated for decades. From Rocky to Rambo, his name was synonymous with grit, survival, and never backing down. And yet, this morning, he was stepping into an arena far less predictable than a boxing ring. Across from him sat Joy Behar, co-host, comedian, too many, queen of the daytime takedown. Her notes were fanned out before her like daggers, and her expression told the audience that this wasn't going to be a feel-good nostalgia trip. "We're here with Sylvester Stallone," she began, that signature sarcastic smile curled at the edges of her mouth. "The man who gave us Rocky, Rambo, and lately, a whole lot of political opinions." A polite ripple of applause moved through the crowd, but Stallone's face barely moved. He'd been in this game long enough to recognize when someone was loading a punch beneath a handshake. He nodded slowly, greeted the co-hosts with the gravelly warmth fans knew well, and tried to steer the opening into familiar territory. "Always a pleasure to be here," he said, voice deep, tone measured. But Joy wasn't reaching for comfort. "Let's not waste time," she snapped. "You've been vocal lately about your views. Some critics say you've been using your platform irresponsibly. What do you say to those who think celebrities should entertain, not influence?" The blow landed clean. Stallone's jaw flexed slightly. "That's a loaded question," he said. "Last I checked, I've got the same rights as any other American. Free speech doesn't come with an occupation clause. Doesn't matter if you're a plumber or an actor." "Oh, so you're a constitutional scholar now too," Joy quipped, eyes flashing, "because some of what you've said doesn't exactly scream democratic values." The mood in the studio shifted. The other hosts exchanged glances. This was no longer an interview, it was a duel. Stallone didn't flinch. "I've spent my career celebrating American values," he said. "Rocky's about the underdog. Rambo about honoring veterans. If people want to twist that into something ugly, that's on them, not me." Joy leaned back, lips curling into a humorless grin. "Let's not pretend your movies are political commentary. They're action, flicks, explosions, and testosterone. And honestly, some of the messages, pretty toxic when you dig into them." His brow arched. Millions around the world found hope in those characters. Rocky showed that persistence beats privilege. Rambo told the story of soldiers abandoned by the country they served. He leaned forward. "What exactly is toxic about that?" Joy didn't miss a beat. "The glorification of violence, the hypermasculine caricatures, the black and white view of complex conflicts. Your characters solve everything with fists and guns. That's not exactly progressive." Stallone's hands gripped the arms of his chair. "You're deliberately misreading it. Rocky doesn't glorify violence, he survives it. Rambo doesn't celebrate war, it mourns it. Maybe if you looked a little deeper, instead of hunting for offense, you'd understand that." "Oh, so now I'm too shallow to understand storytelling." Joy snapped, tone climbing. "I've been in this business longer than you've been making sequels. I know narrative structure. I know messaging. There's a difference," Stallone replied coolly, "between being in the business and understanding it. You sit behind a desk, throwing darts at people who actually create. You've never stared at a blank page. You've never built something from scratch." The air turned electric. The audience held their breath. Joy smirked. "Funny, coming from someone who's played the same guy for 40 years. Rocky, Rambo, same angry, violent man, solving problems with punches. Is that the role model you're proud of?" His voice dropped. "You've never had to fight for anything. You've never had to claw your way out of nowhere. You live in a bubble-safe privilege, Dan. You tear down people who actually know what it means to struggle." Her laugh cracked like ice. "Struggle? You're a millionaire movie star. You've been playing tough guy fantasies for decades. Don't talk to me about real life." "I slept in bus stations," Stallone snapped. "I lived in my car. I wrote Rocky with $39 in the bank. You don't know what I've overcome." Joy waved it off. "We've all heard the sob story. That was 50 years ago. What have you done lately besides cashing checks and remaking the same film?" Whoopi Goldberg tried to intervene. "Let's keep it," but Joy cut her off with a glare. "You know what I think?" she continued, voice icy. "You're still milking that underdog story for sympathy while living in a mansion. The real Sylvester Stallone disappeared a long time ago." Stallone's eyes burned. "You have no idea who I am. You sit here surrounded by applause and pretense, pretending to be some kind of truth-teller while judging from your pedestal. I've inspired millions. I've built something that matters. You've built a brand of violence," Joy barked. "You've sold a generation of men the lie that power equals pain and fists. That's not art. That's dangerous messaging. His voice cracked with fury. You're calling me dangerous for telling stories about survival. You're twisting everything I've created. That's not critique, that's character assassination. She sneered. Oh, are your feelings hurt? Going to cry like one of your characters? Stallone stood his ground. This is exactly why people can't stand you. You don't ask questions, you attack. You're not interested in truth, just takedowns. Joy's expression darkened. At least I still have an audience. Your movies are straight to streaming now. Nobody's watching. The insult landed. His voice dropped. I've created cultural landmarks. I've employed thousands. I've made a difference. What have you done besides sneer and snark and call it journalism? Joy raised her chin. I've challenged hypocrisy. I've asked questions that matter. I've exposed people like you. Ambushes aren't journalism, he said. They're cowardice. You didn't invite me to talk. You invited me to destroy. Her face hardened. Cowardice. You glorify war and never served. You ducked the draft and made millions playing a soldier. The room froze. A crew member dropped something off camera. Stallone's voice came out low, shaking. How dare you? My deferments were medical. I've honored the military my entire career. Don't you dare question that. Oh, how convenient, she sneered. The tough guy disappears when real courage is needed. You don't know what courage is, he said, voice rising. Courage is risking failure, building something from nothing, telling the truth when it's unpopular. She folded her arms. You mean pandering to the worst instincts of your fan base just to stay relevant? And you, he shot back, tear others down because you never built anything yourself. The cameras captured it all: rage, pain, accusation, history unraveling in real time. Joy leaned in, her face glowing with indignation and victory. You really think you're the hero in all this, don't you? That people should praise you for recycling violent cliches and draping them in flags. Come on, Sylvester, you've been phoning it in for decades, clinging to your muscles and your monologues while the world moved on. Stallone's voice was low and lethal. I gave people hope. I gave them something to hold on to when life knocked them down. I never claimed to be perfect, but I showed them how to fight back. You've never inspired anyone. You've only criticized, inspired. Joy laughed, her voice shrill. You inspired locker room fights and bar brawls. You taught boys to see pain as weakness and empathy as failure. What kind of legacy is that? Stallone's chest rose and fell with sharp, shallow breaths. The fury in him was no longer cinematic, it was raw and human. You want to know what matters to me? He said, voice trembling with conviction. Not critics, not headlines, not even money. What matters is that a kid growing up without a father can watch Rocky and believe they can be more, that a vet with PTSD can see Rambo and feel seen. That's the legacy I care about. Joy's lip curled. You don't get to hide behind nostalgia. Your movies are built on fantasy and ego, not truth. No, Stallone shot back. They're built on struggle and spirit. You don't get to erase that just because you're bitter that your jokes stopped landing 20 years ago. Her eyes flashed. Better bitter than desperate. You're a relic, Sylvester. A leftover from an era nobody's trying to go back to. He leaned forward, elbows on the table, voice thick. And you're a parasite, Joy, feeding off other people's work, other people's stories. If no one created, you'd have nothing to destroy. The co-hosts sat frozen. Cameras kept rolling. The audience barely breathed. Joy straightened her back. I ask tough questions. That's my job. If you can't handle that, maybe you're not as tough as you pretend to be. You didn't ask questions. Stallone growled. You slung insults and hid behind your desk like it was a shield. You called me a fraud, a coward, a joke. You questioned my patriotism, my mind, my manhood. And now you want to pretend it was journalism. If the shoe fits, Joy shrugged, her voice laced with venom. Stallone stared at her, the rage in his eyes slowly replaced by something quieter, something heavier. You know what? I actually feel sorry for you. You're so consumed by cynicism, you've forgotten what it means to feel inspired. You can't see the world without hating it, and that's tragic. Spare me your pity, Joy snapped. I see the world for what it is. I don't need Hollywood fairy tales to feel better about it. No, he said quietly, you just need someone to blame. He stood up, hands calm but final. Slowly, he unhooked the mic from his shirt. This interview's over. I came here in good faith. I came here to talk about the work I've done and the stories I've told, but I'm not going to stand here while you twist 40 years of my life into a punchline for your agenda. Joy's mouth tightened. Walking out, how very heroic. The great Stallone, running away when a woman asks him tough questions. He paused at the edge of the stage, his hand on the curtain. You don't get to define me, Joy. History will decide what I meant to people, not you. Oh please, she snapped. Running away sends a real great message to your fans when it gets tough. Just leave. No, he said. It sends the message that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from hate. She scoffed. Hate, I'm just holding a mirror up to your work. You don't like what you see. Maybe it's time you reevaluate. "You're not holding up a mirror," he said, turning back one last time. "You're throwing stones and pretending it's journalism." Then, without another word, he left the stage. The audience remained still, shocked, as if they'd just witnessed the climax of a movie they didn't know they were watching. Joy sat there, flushed with both triumph and discomfort, her smirk flickering at the edges. The cameras lingered. Seconds stretched. Finally, they cut to commercial. But the moment had already taken on a life of its own. Within hours, the clip had gone viral. Social media exploded. Stallone versus Behar trended worldwide. Pundits took sides. Some praised Joy for her fearless questioning. Others slammed her for what they called a hit job. Fans of Stallone flooded the internet with tributes, recalling what his characters meant to them during hard times. Commentators debated whether the interview was a journalistic necessity or a disgraceful ambush. Joy appeared on The View the next day, defending her questions as legitimate, claiming that it was her duty to interrogate influence. "If someone profits from a public platform, they should be willing to answer for it," she said, but even some of her colleagues looked hesitant to fully back her. There was a growing sense that something had been broken. Stallone, for his part, released a brief video statement days later. "I've faced a lot of tough fights in my life, both in and out of the ring," he said, "but what matters most to me is that the work I do helps people. If I've inspired even one person to stand up and fight through the hard times, then it was all worth it." He didn't mention Joy by name. He didn't have to. The world knew exactly who he meant. In the weeks that followed, columnists wrote op-eds, think pieces dissected every line of the exchange. Late-night hosts turned the fight into comedy monologues. Former co-stars and collaborators came to Stallone's defense, while media watchdogs questioned the ethics of aggressive daytime journalism. But one thing was certain. This wasn't just a celebrity spat, it was a cultural collision. It was the past confronting the present. Art clashing with commentary. Legacy standing trial under studio lights. And somewhere in the middle of it all was a man who once climbed 72 steps in Philadelphia with nothing but a dream. Now, walking off a soundstage not because he couldn't take a punch, but because he refused to stand still and be torn down. What happened on that stage will be debated for years. Was Joy Behar out of line? Or was she simply doing her job? Did Stallone overreact? Or was he right to walk away from what he saw as a setup? Whatever your answer, one thing's for sure. That interview on The View wasn't just television. It was history. A flashpoint in the culture war. A moment when entertainment, ego, and ideology collided in real time. So what do you think? Did Joy go too far? Or did Stallone finally meet an opponent he couldn't outpunch? Let us know in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. This is one story the world won't be forgetting anytime soon.